Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Eric Bird, here at StopStrugglingNow.com. And today, it's Dominican Republic Weekly, episode 25. The Open Skies Agreement has finally been signed. That's important. How about new routes for visitors to come to the Dominican Republic? How about the cost of construction and prices? This can affect any investor that's in the real estate market. We have a lot to talk about in this episode 25, so please come along for the ride. And welcome. Stop Struggling Now gear. Check. And please like, subscribe, and click the bell below so you get the latest updates. Now, let's get to it. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, once again to the Dominican Republic Weekly, episode 25. There's also something for you. If you're thinking about investing in real estate, I have news for you. Stay tuned for the SSN Lifestyle Punta Cana Investors Forum, December 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. You can sign up now at SSN Lifestyle. Also, we're going to the Stop Struggling Now YouTube channel podcast page. Once again, I always show some members of the channel courtesy of YouTube over here on the right hand side. If you would like to become a member of the channel to financially help support the channel, please hit the join button over here on the right hand side. Mobile devices look slightly different. Now, also under the community tab, these members receive special messages. Under the community tab, they receive 1 or 2 videos per month specifically for them under the community tab. They also can see videos that are coming out before anyone else. That is a new perk. Also, they on Wednesday night are the only ones that can be in the chat room, the live chat room for our live stream at 8:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the SSN Nation Wealthy Wednesday night live stream. And once again, they can always join me on any live stream. That's part of all the perks. Plus, if you've been a member for 1 year or more, you receive special perks, such as, in this case, this year, a SSN Nation t-shirt. So, that's for starters. Now, I mentioned our SSN Lifestyle Punta Cana Investors Forum. You can go to ssnlifestyle.com. Now, underneath there, here it is. $199 per person, December 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. You come on down, you can see lawyers, real estate projects, real estate and business areas, special SSN Nation payment plans. Visit our other areas. We're going to go visit other areas, banking and loan information. All of that is tackled when we come down there December 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So come down, sign up right now while price is still low. This will more than likely be our last SSN Lifestyle Punta Cana Investors Forum. That's right, our last one, because prices over there are starting to get out of hand. Once again, I'll determine that later this year if it will be officially the last one, but you guys will know on that date if it will be the official last one that we're going to do. So don't miss this. This is invaluable if you're going to do any type of business on the island Dominican Republic. Now, let's get into the situation. Speaking of business, anybody who's buying property in the Dominican Republic, you know that there are a lot of contracts out there now that vary. Mostly 99% of contracts say they can increase the price when you're buying pre-construction properties. How they calculate that is a whole different story. The calculation could be based on a few things. One is year-on-year inflation is 3.46, but this is not how they calculate. They calculate it based on January 1st through December 31st what the inflation rate is. So that's why some of the contracts now say things like we can raise the price based on the inflation for the year, which is the worst case scenario. That's just what I've seen on some of the latest contracts where the price is just going to be based on if inflation is 4% a year, then you're going to be have to pay an additional 4%. If inflation is any number, then you're going to be paying that extra amount. The other contracts are something like up to 3% we cover, and anything over 3% the buyer covers. So then in our case of if it was 4%, they cover the first three, but now the buyer has to pay 1% additional for the year. Then there's only one other contract that I've seen that takes the inflation off of only the amount that you owe. Most of these contracts are counting the inflation against the total of purchase price, even though you don't owe the total purchase price because you already put down 10 or 20%. Plus, you might have already made some payments. So keep all of that in mind. Now, they're talking about in June of this year, so June of last year to June of this year, we're talking about a 3.46% increase. All right, target range is 4% plus or minus 1. So see, they're in their range for the Dominican Republic. So now you understand they're happy with being in this range. But here's the thing, as far as everyone else who has those contracts for pre-construction or any other type of contract where it's based on there's some sort of ICDV or something called the one or the inflation rate annually, this is what you have to pay attention to. Economy planning and development indicates that underlying inflation stood at 3.98% in June, lower by 1.35%. So just so you understand, this year right now, the inflation rate so far year to date is like 3.98 that they're talking about, 3.99. So all those people who have contracts that say we handle up to 3% or new contracts that come out that says we can raise it based on the annual inflation rate, you better have an attorney, and you better have an attorney that says, hold on a second, I need something like a cap, or I need also something like starting at anything that goes over 3% or 4%. Try to get anything you can so you don't have to pay the full cost. They should be responsible for some of it, is the way I look at it. All right. So let's move along. Airline, Argentina's airline expands flights to Punta Cana. They're coming, ladies and gentlemen. I told you. Wait till 2025 comes. If you think the records are going to be broken in 2024, they're going to continue to break records in 2025. Why? Because other airlines from around the world are starting to drop off some of their citizens to the Dominican Republic, especially in Latin-speaking areas. That's even because, it's familiar language. So that helps out a lot. So that is very, very cool. And this starts September 13th, 2 weekly flights. January through March also starts everything. So there's more passengers coming in, even if it's only a total of, let's just say it's 5,200 seats per week during the summer season. That's their capacity. So just think if they were doing like 4,000 seats per week just during June, July, and August, that some people would say, okay, Eric, that's 4, 8, 12 times this 60,000. But see, 60,000 from them, 60,000 from Aerojet, and now all of a sudden you're adding an extra 120,000 passengers. This is how it works. All right. And they're talking 97% occupancy rate on these flights. So clearly more passengers will be arriving in the Dominican Republic next year. Let's see. Here's the Open Skies Agreement. It says it's official. So some of you are thinking when it's official with these type of headlines, you're thinking it already started, right? Let's get real. This is the airline industry. And it's the government of the Dominican Republic. U.S. and Dominican Republic signed Open Skies Agreement. Okay. They're giving throughout this article here, they're giving information based on in the United States. Our nations are inextricably linked. 2.4 million people of Dominican descent live in the United States, and 300,000 U.S. citizens reside in the Dominican Republic. Because of these ties, the agreements will have far-reaching benefits for U.S. and Dominican citizens. Okay, now a lot of people get happy, even I included, we get happy when we hear this open skies agreement. What does this actually mean? The real deal is this. This means United States has opened its markets to the Dominican Republic Airlines. That's what that means, flying to other United States cities. That's what that literally means. We already know it comes from major cities. If you're in LAX, SFO, New York, Chi-Town, Philadelphia, Miami, Orlando, places like that, top 20 of the largest cities in the U.S., generally you can fly. But when you fly, due to connections, you usually have to take from the going past west of the Mississippi, you might have a layover on the East Coast because of the time difference. And that layover may mean you have to get in the following day. You're not going to get in the same day because you don't have flights leaving at 8 a.m. in the morning and flying and getting you to the DR like 7 p.m. at night. You see where I'm going with this? That's a rare thing. So with this, that allows more of, let's just say Aerojet, because you guys know, you've seen them before here on the Dominican Republic Weekly. We've talked about them. And so therefore, what ends up happening is more of those airlines come into agreements with an American, with the Delta, with whatever other airlines there are in the United States. And they then have connections, or they allow routes to be taken or changed. So that way, more efficiency could happen with flights. Now, you want to hear the bad side. The bad side, there's always a bad side with everything. The bad side is that you can go and look at open skies agreements with other countries. And then you can actually find out what happened after they got the open skies agreement between the two countries. And generally, it's almost as if nothing changed, except for in a few markets. Because the price of fuel is the price of fuel. The price of maintenance is the price of maintenance. It doesn't matter which airline has the Airbus 300, 320. Doesn't matter who has the 747, 777, or 730, whatever they're using, a Boeing edition. It's still the same maintenance and upkeep. The differences can be something simple as this. That 18% tax straight out the box for traveling to the DR, that's significant. $100 ticket is $120 now. There's other fees and taxes on top of that too for landing at the airport. So that 18% is not going away. That's still going to be the same. A $200 ticket is now going to be $250, $260. It's still the same. There is no difference. And if you can find a round trip ticket for $260, that means you're going to have to fly, I don't know what airline, but out of the West Coast, out of JFK, LaGuardia, Newark, Atlanta, Miami, maybe even Orlando. But I doubt if they even have prices that low. So we're still going to be at $400, $500 round trip tickets. All right. It's not going to change that much. I hate to say all the hoopla, but we will see if it proves me wrong. But again, don't expect anything like $250 round trips from Chi-Town or from LAX or SFO or Arizona, Las Vegas. Don't expect nothing like that. Don't even expect it if you're on the East Coast. So prices, if they're $400, $500 now, they're still going to be maybe $375 to $450, $500. They're still going to be the same. Pretty much. You'll see. So you can always come back. Eric said it in episode 25 that this was going to happen. So once again, we have record. So moving forward, after August 6th, we will see what prices have went down, if any. So There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I always have to give my 2 cents on these. Rent control. Again, investors, this is another reason why when you keep doing things such as I'll just buy because my friends say so, because the developer says so, because everybody says that the prices keep rising and going up. This right here, they have done the unthinkable. New rent control law proposed in Dominican Republic. This is like, I'm just going to tell you like it is. This also is very, very damning in my capitalist society, because we have a project. I'm not going to put a name out there, but we have a project that you buy into, and it's a condo, and you're not in their rental pool. So you have your own condo and you furnished it according to how you wanted to furnish it. And you have some special features in your condo that makes the house furnishing condos maybe not look as nice as yours. So if those condos are renting for, let's say, $200 per night, my condo I feel is a lot better. So I put on the open market, I want $299 per night. Well, that particular project has a cap where they say you can only charge 10% more than what we charge. Or you can only charge 10% less than what we charge. Rent controls means there's a situation for capitalism that is not good. We don't want people controlling the rent controls, meaning the cost of the rental. They should be working on when somebody comes to the house and stays there and rents there, and they decide not to leave and not pay any rent. They should concentrate on how to get those people out faster, so the owners, the landlords, the renters, the business owners, they're the ones that don't suffer. They should be able to get these people out in a timely fashion, 2 weeks to 30 days. And then, even then, the owners have to deal with anything that was damaged. They have to pay out of their pocket. Anything that was stolen, out of their pocket. So why don't they spend time on doing that before you start worrying about rent control? Rent is only going to be paid according to who can afford it. That sorts itself out anyhow, just like what's happening here in the United States. So I have to make comments on this because this is damaging. This is scary because a lot of people may be thinking they have Airbnbs and they're thinking, oh man, I might be able to charge $600, $700, $800, $400, whatever you think you can charge. All of a sudden they start saying, oh no, you have a cap, you have rent control in this area, you can only charge X amount of dollars. That is very dangerous. All right. So the new bill seeks to address the imbalance by stipulating Article 7 that legal costs associated with rental contracts shall be shared equally between the landlord and tenant. Additionally, the bill specifies that brokerage fees will be borne by the party who engages the services of a real estate agent. Interesting. Another common practice has been for landlords to demand 3 security deposits from tenants, with the third deposit often non-refundable. Well, this is going to address the issue. The proposed law mandates that landlords may only collect a maximum of 2 months' rent as security. Now, we can live with that. That's normal in America. 2 months' rent as security, that is what they should have actually done. This thing about dictating what the rent amount should be, that should not be in the hands of any government. Article 13 of the bill states landlords may require tenants to pay a security deposit of no more than 2 months' rent to guarantee payment of rent. All this, you can, I'll be good with that. But now you're talking about 2 months, 2 months. So now a person's going to pay 4 months plus their first month's rent. That's a lot. All right. That's 5 months prepayments. Okay. The legislation also aims to standardize rental contracts by requiring the agreement specify the lease term, the intended use of the property, and the monthly rent amount. All the last 3 things I think they need, other than I don't know about this 5 months allowance up front. That's kind of crazy. So everything is fine with that portion of this, but trying to do rent control is a bad idea. Okay, and this is the last one, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. A lot of people over there in the DR who are investors, they're not understanding that they have to get loans if they need a loan from a Dominican Republic bank. People are like, man, Scotiabank's about 8.5%, but that's only fixed for a year or maybe up to 5, and then the rest after that are adjustable rate loans. So this is why their interest rates for lending is at a high rate, because here you have central bank maintains interest rate at 7% annually, which again, this does not help people when it comes to savings. As far as I know, there is no savings account that gives people in the DR 3 or 4 or 5% annually. All right. So that's what we're talking about. This actually kind of helps another pseudo situation going on in the background, which is when banks borrow from banks. They borrow at certain rates. That's how it works. And when you do overnight borrowing, there's also another way it works. So when you deposit in, you get 5.50% annually. And then the 7%, 7.5, when your banks are doing something different amongst themselves, which is Central Bank of the Dominican Republic, BCRD. And so their target, once again, is just to get inflation down to 4%, plus or minus 1%. So that's 3%, 4%, or 5%. So again, be cautious if you're signing any rental agreements, any contracts that goes by. They can increase the price of the rent or the price of the property based on this, because they admit it can go down to 3%, they're happy, and it can go up to 5% and they're happy. You would be having to pay these extra points every year that you are making payments or lease property or rent properties. That is a serious situation as far as I'm concerned. Let me know what you guys are thinking down below. I put in my 2 cents. Why don't you join the conversation in the comment section and put in your 2 cents? And thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. And please like, subscribe, and click the bell below so you get the latest updates. And I know it's hard out here. And that's why the Dominican Republic Weekly, in an area that has no credit check, no qualifying, no barriers to entry with pre-construction property and real estate, I suggest you go take a look and see if this is right for you. Yes, it's deeded property in the DR. Make sure it's right for you and do your own due diligence. But you need to know that this is one of the most popular places for tourists over the last 3 years. Number 2 in all of Latin America behind Mexico. And in some areas, number 1 when it comes to the amount of reservations from June, July, and August. Number 1 in the Latin world for the summer months. Can you believe that? And with all that said, keep your head up, keep moving, and I'm out.